You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly.
I now call to order the meeting of the directors of the USA Niagara Development Corporation for Tuesday, November 22nd, 2022. I'd like to note for the record that this meeting is being webcast. I will also note for the record that the public was given the opportunity to comment on the agenda items by submitting their written comments by 4:30 p.m. on Friday. I'd like to further note for the record that no comments were received from the public concerning today's agenda items. The directors have received the relevant written materials in advance of today's meeting and are free to ask questions at any time. Before we begin with the substantive portion of the meeting, I'd like to ask the directors whether anyone has any potential conflict of interest with respect to the items on the agenda. If so, I'd ask that you please make an appropriate disclosure on the record at this time. We will then be sure that you may recuse yourselves from any discussion or vote regarding such items. Hearing none, our first order of business is the approval of the minutes of the March 22nd, 2022 Directors Meeting. Do we have any questions? Any questions, comments, additions, or deletions? If not, may I have a motion for approval?
I will move.
Second.
Second, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No. Thank you for the motion carries. I'd like to now call upon Anthony Velardo to present the next item on today's agenda, a request for authorization to adopt the revised procurement guidelines. When you're ready, Anthony.
Thank you, Chairwoman. In June of 2021, the board adopted updated and revised guidelines for the use of awarding, monitoring, and reporting of procurement contracts as mandated by Public Law 2879, Public Authorities Law. There were no substantive changes to the executive order and discretion to authorities in the past year that would require modification of the proposed guidelines. Staff reviewed the 2022 guidelines and incorporated the following changes: changing the adoption date of the guidelines to coincide with the start of the corporation's fiscal year, clarifying that additional information regarding purchase orders and procurements under $50,000 is available from the procurement coordinator, reworking portions of sections 3 and 4 to eliminate the flow charts and replace them with listed bullet points, permitting staff to competitively procure additional vendors from pre-qual lists, clarifying the circumstances that can justify granting a single source contract reporter exemption, clarifying that a notice to proceed can be utilized before and after board approval prior to the full execution of the contract, and establishing the duration of a notice to proceed shall not exceed 1 year. And in an effort to be more environmentally conscious, new procedures are being added to permit electronic submissions of bids and proposals. One deviation from the 2022 guidelines adopted by the ESD board, which we are recommending here. ESD adopted guidelines require board approval of contracts over $250,000 due to the type of contracts and the total amounts typically entered into by the USA Niagara office. Staff believe that it is appropriate to have a contract over $150,000 brought to the board. Thank you.
Thank you, Anthony. Do the directors have any questions or comments regarding this item? We don't have any comments from the public with regards to this item, so if I may entertain a motion for approval.
Motion.
A second.
Scott, second. Chandra, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. The motion carries. Anthony will now present our next agenda item, a request for authorization to adopt the USAN property disposition guidelines. Anthony, take it away.
Thank you. The Public Authorities Accountability Act, Chapter 766 of the 2005 Laws of New York. For the public authorities, the Act establishes standards for governance and operation of public authorities such as New York State Urban Development Corporation and its subsidiaries, including USA Niagara. Title 5A of the Act requires annual adoption of the guidelines with respect to property disposition. On March 24th, 2022, the ESD Board of Directors adopted the 2022 guidelines regarding the disposition of properties. A copy of the guidelines are attached. We are asking the directors to adopt the same set of guidelines on behalf of USA Niagara. Thank you, Chairwoman.
Thank you, Anthony. Any questions or comments from the directors regarding this item? As we've noted in the past, there are no comments from the public regarding this item. So I may now entertain a motion for approval on this item, please. Chandra.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Motion carries. Anthony, please present the next agenda item, a request for authorization to enter into a contract for consultant services in connection with the Niagara Falls Heritage Gateway Project.
Thank you, Chairwoman. Board members, you'll recall in 2019, USA Niagara acquired over 30 properties through the strategic land acquisition program. We then undertook a development strategy on how best to develop those properties. A series of recommendations came from that to make some public sector infrastructure improvements to spur private sector development. So on July 8th of this year, we advertised for design services for the Niagara Falls Heritage Gateways project. On August 22nd, we received and opened 7 proposals. After reviewing those proposals and interviewing the top 4 teams, a selection committee comprised of representatives from this office, State Parks and Recreation and Historic Preservation, in the city of Niagara Falls gave the highest score to the proposal submitted by POW and is recommending POW as the preferred consultant on this project. The Niagara Falls Heritage Gateways project will involve the design and construction of 4 public improvements in downtown Niagara Falls, including a public plaza, a multi-use recreational space, an observation structure, and a pocket park and historic site interpretation. We are asking the board to make a determination of responsibility with respect to the proposed contract and authorize USA Niagara to enter into a contract with POW for an amount not to exceed $2,100,000 and authorize the taking of all related actions. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Anthony. Directors, any questions or comments regarding this project? As noted earlier, we do not have any comments from the public regarding this item. May I have a motion for approval?
Motion.
Second? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. The motion carries. Anthony will present the final item on today's agenda, which relates to a request for authorization to enter into an administrative agreement with the NFC Development Corporation in connection with the Niagara Falls Small Business Property Improvement Program. Anthony, please.
Thank you, Chairwoman. On June 1st, 2022, Governor Hochul announced the Regional Revitalization Partnership, a $300 million targeted economic development investment strategy focusing on distressed neighborhoods in Western New York and the Finger Lakes region within the cities of Buffalo, Niagara Falls, and Rochester. In Niagara Falls, the RRP, short for Regional Revitalization Partnership, includes a combined investment of $40 million towards projects and programs in a series of targeted and identified areas as part of a public planning process conducted in 2021 for Niagara Falls Strategic Economic Development Fund. The plan calls for $5 million to be allocated to the Niagara Falls Small Business Property Improvement Program, a small business grant program to assist in capital improvements for facade restoration, business expansion, street and front amenities, and other improvements and upgrades to advance placemaking in several commercial corridors and downtown areas. The program includes $3 million to foster revitalization of traditional mixed-use buildings in districts by providing funds to small business and property owners for commercial improvements such as facade restoration, other mixed-use building upgrades. ESD will provide the NFC Development Corp a sum of $3 million to program these activities. In support of implementing the program, USA Niagara Development Corp and the NFC Development Corporation will develop an administrative agreement. Under the proposed agreement, USAN will partner and collaborate with NFC to assist in staffing and undertaking activities under the program. NFC will be responsible for programs in the Pine Avenue, Main Street, and Portage Road areas, while the USA Niagara staff will administer activities within our development district. Thank you, Chairwoman.
Are there any questions or comments from the directors? I actually have a question, Anthony. Are all the projects going to be vetted by USA Niagara first, or is the city going to be vetting the projects and recommending them to USA
So the
Niagara?
projects will,
How's it gonna work?
if they are in our development district, they will start in our office. John will administer that program on our behalf,
Mhm.
and we'll make recommendations to the NFC board for funding within there. For outside of our development district, so for Pine Avenue,
Right.
Main Street, Portage Road, they'll be handled directly by NFC staff at the city.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that I didn't know if
Yeah.
it was going to be across.
There will be a coordination
Yeah.
between the two offices.
Okay. Any of the directors have any questions or comments? We do not have any comments from the public regarding this particular item. So at this time, may I entertain a motion for approval? Motion by Scott, are we all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No. Thank you. The motion carries. This is going to be short and sweet. So there being no further business, may I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Motion.
I'll second.
Scott, second by Chandra. Thank you all for everything you've done today and over in New York, and I wish you all a happy Thanksgiving. and a happy holiday. So we're adjourned for today, and thank you for your participation.
Thank you, board.
Thank you.
Thanks, New York.
Thank you.
You make